Hello, hello, DM Geezer Jim here, back continuing along with our audiobook, Uncaged Faces of Sigil. Our next entry is pretty interesting. This one is written from the format of a bulletin of warning, a notice of warning by order of Factal Saren of the Harmonium. Okay, someone really important put out a hit piece on our next NPC. So let's read about him. Next up is going to be Djek'Nlaar. Obviously, you're going to pronounce it how you're going to pronounce it, but that's how I'm pronouncing it. So let's read. As is typical, we'll read through it, then we'll talk about gameplay opportunities, gameplay applications, and last we'll look at any 5th edition considerations that might be having to given. I am a 5e DM, even though I use old classic content. I try to keep things in line for the current edition. So anyway. Be wary of a copper-pinching peeler of the following description. Female Githyanki, though she often tries to pass as Githzerai, especially to clueless. 6 feet tall with a stocky build, a long stretched face with thinly pointed ears and murderous black eyes. The skin a richer yellow than most Gith coloring, nearly that of an Arcadian peach. Short, braided black hair sitting high on her head like a spider crouching in the shadows. Small silver loops hanging from each ear and another from her nose, usually dressed in a black hoodless cloak covered with crimson beads and never without a long sword or of some possible magical repute. This criminal calls herself Djek'Nlaar, though it's not certain whether this is merely one of her aliases. She's introduced herself to her victims as Djek'Nlaar, Djek'Nlaar, Djek'Fa, and Panor, among other names. She is often found in the otherwise reputable Clerk's Ward, where she haunts its taverns and alehouses by night, looking for leatherheads to pay good coin for her worthless maps. These maps blaspheme by their very nature, for they press her to lay bare the most just and secret punishments of her serenity, the Lady of Pain, the mazes. Possession of such a map is an offense punishable by fine, hard labor, imprisonment, or death. Does she perpetrate her crimes for Jink alone? Would that she would be so upstanding? Some imagine that Our Lady has not always had the power to create mazes for pretenders to her throne. This power might be examined, understood, perhaps even wrested from her grasp. It is the Harmonium's official view that Djek'Nlaar means to learn the darker the mazes, the better to challenge Our Lady without fear of being cast into an ever-winding prison. In this, the Gith may not work alone. We have on several occasions noted her calling on Zadara, a titan of some suspicious wealth and motive. No link of wrongdoing between the two has yet been proven, but Djek'Nlaar may put her forbidden quill to the paper at the Titan's behest. Unfortunately, refusal to purchase the maps of this miscreant does not guarantee protection from her evil ways. Chant has reached the city barracks that the Gith actively causes Leatherheads to be consigned to a maze, whereafter she travels to the distant site, maps its every twist and blind, and returns to Sigil with another page for her portfolio of sacrilege. And if she comes across a trapped victim while exploring the maze, she no doubt tries to kill the sod or solicit outrageous sums for guiding him out, whatever is her mood. Fear not. We do not suggest that Djek'Nlaar can create her own mazes. Rather, she tricks, inspires, or perhaps even charms others to take actions that will likely draw the lady's ire. The villain has no doubt already drawn the lady's attention to herself, though on the occasion of her punishment is known only to the lady. Djek'Nlaar's peel can be as simple as selling figurines of Eoskar, the rightfully exiled god of portals, to primes who think them harmless trinkets, and planers ignorant of our city's history. Flaunting the ugly symbols of Eoskar, though punishable by 2 years of hard labor, likely won't earn a trip to the maze. Thus, Djek'Nlaar pushes others towards still more dangerous activities, convincing them to muddle with the smooth workings of the debut or the city's portals. We believe that the portal-smashing Burk who calls himself the Grixit, see last week's public warrant for details, is a mere dupe of the Gith, a maze waiting to happen. The overambitious provide Djek'Nlaar with her choicest fodder. She wheedles power-hungry fools into directly challenging the lady or seeking control of Sigil. In the last 7 fortnights, the Harmonium has headed off 3 different rebellions in the making. The Gith was nowhere to be found, though each would-be conqueror swore to being prompted by a confidant matching her general description. What's more, as she spins a web of complicity around her target, Djek'Nlaar finds her reasons to make off with a coin, a brooch, a dagger, some personal object of the intended dupe. This we know from confessions of her victims, willfully given, and we suspect that the Gith uses the object to follow the Burk to the maze once he's been taken by Our Lady. How? We suspect her to be a Djek'Nlaar, a Githyanki who somehow senses, collects, and harnesses the psychic energies that sweep through the astral plane. It has been theorized that leatherheads swept into mazes leave psychic trails behind, much like the silver cords of astral travelers. Perhaps by handling an object from a victim, Djek'Nlaar can follow his trail right to the maze in question. Perhaps the trail leads to a hidden portal in the cage that gets access to the maze. Once Djek'Nlaar finds the doorway, she might cast Warp Sense or buy the services from a passing mage to learn its key. The Gith might even follow the scent the long way through the mists of the deep ethereal. In any case, her innate power to plane shift will not get her into any maze, nor will it get her out again. But once she's mapped each twisting prison, the villain might follow her own psychic trail back to Sigil. We find no other reason why she can smell her way back out of the maze when its occupants cannot. To some, if Djek'Nlaar approaches you for the purpose of selling her maps, if she offers to be your guide to a maze that might be housing a missing friend or object, if she seeks your service in locating a portal or its key, or if she tries to sway you towards illegal activities in the hopes of seeing you in your own maze, summon a guard of the Harmonium immediately. Failure to do so will brand you an accomplice to her crimes. And on the next page, we have a couple hand-drawn maps of Djek'Nlaar's works, maps of the mazes. Real quick reminder, if you're kind of new to Sigil, remember this story kind of leans into the punishment phase of the city of Sigil. The Lady of Pain, all I have handy is my little Lego of her badassedness, but there she is. Rules the city with absolute power, but with a lot of apathy as well. If you really piss her off, she can just simply flay you. Your skin falls off, the blood runs out of your body like a fountain, and you collapse into a pile of flesh and bones, and you die. No saving throw, no nothing. That's reserved for the absolute worst offenders. Most of the punishment probabilities for our players, if they cross the Lady of Pain, are going to be the mazes, okay? The idea is when you get shoved off into a maze, it is an endless maze that you will wander through until either your sentence is over or until you cease to exist. Food and water is left within the maze, so it's not like you're there to starve until you die. The majority of the mazes are unoccupied except for the person that's been consigned there. They wander through these mazes lonely and confused and afraid. However, this article is positing that Djek'Nlaar, a Githyanki, is able to use their inherent abilities to sniff a trail through the ethereal space to the quasi-plane, as it were, demi-plane that the maze has been constructed in, and in doing so can walk through the maze and map them out and then sells the maps later. Now, so the presentation of this non-player character is from a very bad lens. It's almost like a wanted poster. Attention, be warned. If you see Djek'Nlaar, go get the cops, and if they try to talk to you, stab them in the face. Even if you talk to them, you're probably guilty of the same crimes. They're making this person out to be a bad guy. So what does this mean for our gameplay standpoints? As a dungeon master, Djek'Nlaar is an escape valve if your players get stupid and end up in the maze. Okay, there's a lot of there's a lot of text in here that talks about Djek'Nlaar trying to supplant and usurp the Lady of Pain. While they're probably not, certainly don't have goals that high, being nonconformist, chaotic, neutral in nature, then well, depending on the edition and how you take the alignments, just being disruptive could be enough. But Djek'Nlaar can provide the dungeon master and the players a mechanic, an opportunity to get themselves out of a bad situation. They can offer up a lot of quests. Someone that pissed off the Lady of Pain that's really important for your story. Some NPC MacGuffin is currently housed in a maze somewhere, and we don't know where, we don't know what. All we know is he pissed off the Lady of Pain and disappeared. No, they didn't flame, he didn't turn into a pile of blood, but he's probably in a maze somewhere. Well, shit, I guess that quest's off. Not so. Djek'Nlaar can provide your players with a map with an opportunity to go rescue this person from a maze. Djek'Nlaar can be that MacGuffin NPC that saves your players when they inevitably run their mouths and get shoved into a maze. This is the existence of this NPC is solely to circumvent the primary punishment for bad behavior within the city of Sigil, which is getting shoved in a maze. Obviously, there's a lot of other, you can kill them, you can flame, you can do all kinds of stuff, but the hope is that your players did something wrong, they get stuck in a maze as punishment, not the end of the campaign, an opportunity to come out later. And that's where Djek'Nlaar applies. Whether they need to see them to rescue a non-player character or rescue a friend, they definitely serve that purpose. They're well known throughout the city, even though they're kind of hard to nail down, kind of like nailing jello to a wall. So statistically, she is a Githyanki, a fighter 7 magic user 4 multi-class. This is about what we had back in the day. I'd probably go Eldritch Knight for 5th edition, maybe a high-level fighter with a couple Eldritch Knight with a couple extra dips into Wizard for some extra spells, maybe. She can be found within various pubs in the Clerk's Ward, or selling up sods for the lady anywhere in Bill. So yeah, she moves through the city primarily in the Clerk's Ward, but you can use her. She can be found anywhere at any point. If she's needed for your adventure, if she's needed for your characters. Djek'Nlaar can zero in on those most likely to respond to her wiles. She flatters her targets and point them down a path of rebellion, then backs away and lets them get in trouble. When selling her map, she has as if she's letting them go for a song, no matter how much she charges. So there is a little bit of support for the chaos gremlin, as it were, the disruptive force within the city of Sigil. And what that text is saying to me as a dungeon master is, if my players are of the chaos goblin variety, they're the nonconformists, no matter where you put them, they're going to go run up against the authorities. Djek'Nlaar is going to search them out and enable and encourage that behavior. Now, that doesn't always mean that it works out for your players. That could simply mean that Djek'Nlaar is using your players to further her own causes, which may be completely independent of your players' campaigns, right? But yeah, just ultimately keep in mind that she does provide an answer to the question of what happens if my players go to the maze. Can we even use these fabled mazes of the Lady of Pain as adventure locations, as encounters? And yes, you can. And that's basically what this story is covering. But hey, man, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed the story on Djek'Nlaar. Next up's going to be one of my favorite NPCs, Adamok Ebon. But we'll get to her story soon. Likes, follows, subscribes are greatly appreciated. Push those buttons, do all the things, leave me comments, let me know what you think. And hopefully we'll see you back for a new episode soon. Take care.